It's been a while since I made a video because, well, I started a new job. I've got my work clothes on right now, and really I just haven't felt like posting anything. But I figured I'd post something like this. I've got this here Economy Jim Dandy tractor. Uh, I believe it's from the mid 70s. It was my granddaddy's, and he gave it to me about 6 years ago. No, a lot longer than that. But as far back as I can remember, is 6 years ago. So when I got it ran okay, but never really that well. And I was too young to really do anything with it at the time, like mess with it mechanically and stuff. But now, last year I took it to my buddy's house because my mom said that she didn't want a junked up tractor in her yard that didn't run because that looked trashy. Since I'm still living with my mom, I had to follow her rules. So I got it running right. Tuned the carburetor a little bit because before I took it over to my buddy's house, about 3/4 throttle and second gear is all this thing wanted. It wouldn't go into third gear and wouldn't go past 3/4 throttle. So I tuned the carburetor a little bit, messed with the governor spring, got it running good. Now it goes full throttle all the way, and it'll idle it almost all the way down. It'll go through all the gears. While I was at my buddy's house, I took the top of the transmission off and looked down in there, had a bunch of gunk in it, so I cleaned all that out using kerosene, cleaned the rear end out of it. It's got a little bit of a noise whenever you're driving it around, kind of like a grinding-ish sound. Anybody who has one of these tractors knows what I'm talking about. But, oh yeah, another problem it had when I got it was the battery never charged on it. It has the old starter generator and a voltage regulator, and my grandfather he said that he never liked messing with those. So I also messed with that and got the battery charging. And right now I'm having a problem of no spark. And this has the good old-fashioned point system on it. So I figured the points were bad. Went through with my voltmeter, which is on the other side of the tractor right now. Went through with my voltmeter and tested everything for continuity. It all had continuity. Replaced the points on it. And for many of you who don't know, the point system is kind of complicated, but once you know, you should be able to get it. I had to watch a video on it on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the video or who made it, or else I would give him credit for it, for teaching me this. But basically what happens is it's my dog. Basically what happens is when the points are closed, 12 volts of electricity flow through the coil into the points, and it makes a circuit. And when the points open, it breaks the circuit. The contactor absorbs some of the electricity, and it goes in the coil and shoots electricity out the spark plug wire when it breaks. And how that works is the coil has a big coil going around a smaller coil. The big coil being hooked to the positive and the negative side, positive and negative posts on the coil, and the smaller coil being hooked to the spark plug wire. And when the electricity flows through there, it's all working fine. It creates a circuit. Then when the points open up and it breaks the circuit, the contactor does something, and then some electromagnetic crap happens, and that basically shoots the electricity from the big coil into the smaller coil, which ramps it from 12 volts to 22,000 is what I was told in that video, and then that goes up through the spark plug wire and creates a spark. So I've been kind of testing a lot of stuff. I replaced the points on it because it was the original points from the 30-year-old tractor that sat outside all the time, so I figured that was bad. I figured it can't be the coil because the coil, I replaced it last year. I would have had the same coil on it, but whenever I went to tighten down one of the bolts on it, the post broke. So I had to get a new coil for it. So I figured that probably wasn't the problem. It's got continuity and electricity. It's got 12 volts going into it and 12 volts coming out of it. So that's how it's supposed to do when the points are closed, which they are right now. New points, fairly new coil, year old, roughly. And I believe I found the problem because when I went on the other side of the tractor, I had turned the ignition on and I had my voltmeter set to 12 volts, and I was testing all to see where voltage was. Touched it to one end of the point, or to one point, and then touched where the wire goes into the points at. And I only had 0.33 volts, which I believe was not normal. So I took it, turned it to continuity, and stuck it on this side of the coil that attaches to the point, and then put it on the point, and only had I had continuity, and I have 12 volts coming out of the coil into the wire that goes to the points, but only 0.33 going from the wire, or flowing through the wire. So I believe that the wire is bad, and I'm about to replace it and see if that works. So yeah, I got these cutters and crimpers a little bit ago. Don't know if y'all can see that too well. They're Dorman brand. I've never had anything Dorman. Never really heard of Dorman. I kind of knew they were there, but never thought about them. So let's make sure that the tractor's turned off, which it is, because I'm smart. So, I don't know. I was going to get the Channel Lock brand crimpers, but the nearest place that had them was the Tractor Supply in Nashville, which is like 30 miles away, and I really didn't want to drive that far for it. Why am I using pliers for that? Yeah, whenever I replace this wire, I'll see if this works, and I'll kind of show y'all what I've done to this tractor since I got it. Currently, I use it in my garden. I figured something that could take some work off of me in my garden. Let's see. I put a 3-point hitch on it. Had it hooked up to the belly mower lift, and then took the belly mower lift off, hooked it up to a linear actuator, bought a plow for it, bought a disc, and let's see, what else did I buy? A cultivator. And those have all helped me a lot. This past year was the first time I ever plowed my garden, and let me tell you something. I've always tilled the garden before, with like a Craftsman rototiller, I'm talking the walk behind, and that always did okay. But I always explain this: the difference between plowing and tilling is that with tilling, a lot of times you get the soil too fine, which isn't too good. You want the soil a little fine, but not too fine. You don't want to like sand, although sand is great for growing stuff in. I don't know why. My granddaddy always told me that. But I plowed my garden this year, and I'm going to tell you, I probably had a total of like 3 weeds from plowing. And I was really surprised about that, because I've always had problems with lots of weeds in the past, but this year only 3. So I'm guessing that has to do with the plowing. Let's see. Oh yeah, I bought a new disc, because the old disc, I bought the Brindley Hardy, like, I don't know, I think it was like 3-foot wide disc, and the thing sucks. It weighs 50 pounds, and if you put it on, I have like an adapter for the sleeve hitch, which is what the disc was made for. I made an adapter to go to the 3-point hitch I made on the back of my tractor, and the thing just sucked. It wouldn't cut nothing. It would only go about a 1/2 inch deep. It would look perfectly fine after disking it, but if you stuck your finger in it, you would go 1/2 inch through tilled dirt and then just hard packed dirt, which really annoyed me, because that thing, it was kind of expensive for something that doesn't work, and it doesn't do anything in hard grass. It can only hold 50 pounds, which really sucks, because the thing weighs 50 pounds. So I bought the Field Tough, I believe it is. Get down. I bought the Field Tough ATV pull-behind disc, and I hadn't tried that out yet. This has notched discs versus the Brindley Hardy having smooth discs, and it also weighs 166 pounds versus the Brindley Hardy only weighing 50 pounds. And it also can hold 150 pounds versus the Brindley Hardy only being able to hold, I think it can hold 100 pounds. But that's all it won't. So I'm going to try that out this year and see how that does. So yeah, I'm about to fix this thing. Let's see. Get you over here. That right there is the coil and a contactor. An LED light that I put on here. See, and that right there are the points. And this wire right here only had 0.33 volts flowing through when it should have 12. Let's see if I can get y'all guys set back up here. See if I'm about to start the show. Yeah, there we go. So I'm about to replace this wire. See if that helps any. So yeah, Dorman. If y'all have any opinions about Dorman, please let me know in the comments, because I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they're a good brand or not. I'm hoping they are, because they were like 20 bucks. So it's not the cheapest thing I could have bought, but it was fairly cheap. They're a little bit cheaper than channel locks. And I'm guessing they're probably made in China, like most everything is nowadays. That's why I wanted to buy the channel lock brand, is because the channel lock brand is at least made in the USA. But they're good. I mean, they cut good. They crimp a lot better than the wire cutters that I have, or the wire strippers that I have. So they crimp. I mostly bought them so that I could crimp stuff, because I have a channel lock brand cutter for me to cut big stuff. And I can cut regular wires pretty good with my strippers. Let's see. Here's the old wire right here. I'm not seeing too much damage, but I mean, it's 40 years old. This tractor's 40 years old now. So with it being a 40-year-old tractor, this doesn't look like a 40-year-old wire, but you never know. This was probably replaced, but still, it was probably replaced 10 years after it was bought new, so that's still like a 30-year-old wire. So let's see. What do on my foot? I have this problem a lot, but I can't find. Oh yeah, it's on the other side. Let's see. I got this terminal kit. It comes in really handy. It's 175 pieces. It's got connectors, the little flat plugs, the things that the flat plugs go into, all kinds of like open connectors and closed connectors, all that sort of good stuff. It comes in real handy. And also, if you're ever in the market for wire strippers, say I think these are O'Reilly's brand, which is Power Torque. Oh no, this is Pittsburgh. This is Harbor Freight brand. They've done pretty good. But I would recommend getting these style. Let's see if y'all can see it. Getting this style of wire strippers. There's not much wrong with the other style of wire strippers. They strip wires good, and they crimp a lot better than these do. But you know, the cutters on these, I don't know if y'all can see it. The cutters on these are right here versus being here. And also it has 2 blades on the cutter, so it acts like scissors. Cuts a lot better than the 1 blade on most other crimpers, or most other strippers that I've seen. But these have done me pretty good. Like I said, they don't crimp worth a crap, so that's why I bought the other crimpers. So yeah. Cut that off, get a fresh thing of wire. Cuts really well. I believe this is 16, it looks like. Yeah, 16 gauge wire. No, 14. Who cares what gauge it is? Young girl. Got my dog right there. As you can see in the other shot, she really wanted to be in the video. We got 4 dogs here now. Got my 2 dogs, which are both Jack Russells. mixed with other crap. I don't know. Their mama was a hoe. But we kept one out of one litter and kept another out of another litter. And this one's the youngest one. 5 years old now. And we have a red-nosed pit bull who we rescued. You could say we rescued her. We got her from a pound. The pound rescued her, but we got her from the pound. She's been the sweetest dog. And then she's like 3 years old now. She was about a year old when we got her. But she's been really sweet for coming from a pound. You know, usually everybody thinks that pit bulls, especially like ones from a pound, they're going to be really mean. But no, this one, the sweetest, nicest dog you'll ever meet. She doesn't really care about other dogs as long as they don't come near her territory, which is the backyard. And then now we have my stepdad just recently, a couple weeks ago, got a blue-nosed pit bull puppy. She was about 12 weeks old when we got her, and that was a couple weeks ago. She's a little bit older now. She's grown so much. The story behind her is she came from Ohio. A woman in Ohio found her in a dumpster when she was just a wee little puppy, and got her from the dumpster, and I think some of her siblings too. Got all of them, and you know, took them to her house and fed them, and, you know, raised them up a little bit. And then my stepdad got one of them for free. She was giving them out, I guess, to a good home. And she's a real sweet dog, and she's learning now how to bark and how to jump, and she gets along pretty good with our older pit bull. The youngest Jack Russell is terrified of her, so runs away from her all the time. The oldest Jack Russell, who's also the oldest dog we have, he is 8 this year. Yeah, he's 8 now. Yeah. He doesn't really care about her. I mean, he'll get kind of excited sometimes, kind of run around with her when they're playing, but he doesn't really care most of the time. The red-nosed pit bull, which is the 3-year-old pit bull, gets along okay with her. Doesn't really bother her much. They play a lot, which is what, you know, we were kind of hoping for, because the pit bull doesn't have anything to play with because both the Jack Russells are scared of her. So she has something to play with now. And sometimes, every once in a while, she'll get kind of a little rough with her, so we'll have to keep her in check. Sorry, I'm not very good at talking and working at the same time. I'm going to try to run this the same way that it was run before, which is probably why it messed up, but hey, it lasts probably 30 years, so might as well not change it. This back on there. Yeah, right now I'm just putting this into the wire onto the coil, that way I can measure how much I need. I can guesstimate how much I need as efficiently as possible. So let's see, what do I do? Here they are, the flat washer, lock washer, and nut for this post. So I believe this little round thing is called the contactor. I believe that comes with the points most of the time. I can't remember exactly if it's called contactor or not. But who cares what it's called? It should still work on here, because it did come. I believe that it came with the points, which I'm guessing were original. I don't know much about it since my granddaddy got it. I know my granddaddy had it under a shed, so it stayed fairly dry under the shed. There's going to be a spinning part around there somewhere, so I'm going to try to keep away from that. Let's see. Just cut it off. Oh, I cut it off a little long so that I can fit it through this little wire holder here, and then I will hook it, or I'll cut it off, get it a little more precise. Don't want to have too much excess wire, you know, just flopping around. A little bit of excess is good. Too much, not so good. Not a big fan of a lot of excess of wire. Let's see, 14 gauge. I'm hoping this fixes it. I have a big problem with a lot of things that I work on is that usually the first things that I try don't fix it.